Welcome back, everybody. Todd here. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk about windshields. I've got the Harley-Davidson Sport Glide 2021 model, and it comes with just this little 2-inch windshield or windscreen. And I've done a lot of research online, trying to find what's the right size windshield for me, and a lot of conflicting information. So come along with me, and I'm going to take you on my journey with me and see if we can't get the right windshield for this 2021 Harley-Davidson Sport Glide and me personally. Believe it or not, this is the windshield that comes on the Sport Glide. It's actually 2 inches, and 1 inch of that is below the front edge or the top edge of the fairing. And I know that Harley-Davidson came out with, they make a 5.5 inch that comes up higher than this, but I've watched a lot of videos and read a lot of comments that 5.5 inch really doesn't do anything. Matter of fact, it creates more wind buffeting. So if you've got that 5.5 inch, I'd love to hear your comments. If you've put an aftermarket windshield on your Sport Glide, love to hear in the comments what you've done, what your experience was. I can let you know a little secret. I'm doing this intro after the entire process is done, and I can tell you the first windshield that I bought had to go back. So stay tuned, follow along. I'm going to take you on the process, show you what I've learned, and hopefully I can help you avoid some of the mistakes that I've made. But again, I'd love to hear your comments, love to hear from you guys what your experience has been and what you finally got zeroed in on for your Sport Glide, regardless of what year it is. So stick around and I'll take you on a journey that hopefully is going to help you. Okay, there's my Freedom Shield. It's the 12-inch Freedom Shield for the Sport Glide Harley-Davidson. So box is open. Well, thank you from Freedom Shield. Set that aside for right now. See if we can fish around in here and find that windshield. Found it. Coming up. And there we go. I went with the 12-inch light gray. Before we install it, I decided to give you a contrast. Here's what came on it, obviously the dark one, and that's what I'm putting on it. So it's going to be wider for sure, a couple of inches on each side actually, and most certainly taller. So if you're wondering, that's what it looks like. They want you to pull up the bottom 3 inches or so just so you can install it, leave the film on it, test drive it that way. If you are not completely satisfied, you can send it back. Okay, we'll pull it up and get her installed. That went quick. What you're doing is putting 2 screws into it. It fits right in the slot. You can see how much wider that is than the original. Then I've got to basically flip it over and put those additional bolts back together. There you go. I mean, really all you're doing is, you can see where the bolts are. You just pop those off using a Torx wrench. I got the thing around here somewhere. Hang on. There you go. Size is T25, T26, T25. Okay, let's go put it on the bike. Got it on the bike. I like the height. I sat on it, and if anything, it's going to be a little too low, and I was afraid it would be too high. You know, realistically, the next thing to do is going to be take it for a test drive. I'm home from the office on lunch right now, but I might have to take a little time here. I really like it. It changes the whole feel of the bike, and it changes that mini Batwing fairing into something a little bit more meaningful. So I'm going to leave the film on it like they say. Put my gear on, go take it for a test drive. As long as it's performing the way I want to and all that, then I can pull it off. And I'm in business. Okay, so I'm about to take it for a test drive. Laura, why don't you walk around so you give the people a look at it. I have my lovely assistant, Laura, videoing. So that's where the 12-inch comes to me. I'm 5'8". They say measure anywhere from your nose to your upper lip. So it's a little bit low, but if I get all slouchy in my long distance ride, I might be able to make it. Okay, let's take it for a ride. Well, bad news, guys. The 12-inch just isn't going to work for me. After taking it for a test drive, I'm just getting a lot of wind buffeting, and went back and remeasured it and realized that I used a different manufacturer's measuring approach, and it's about really 3.5 to 4 inches too short for my torso and the way I sit on the bike. So it's gonna have to go back. I talked to John over at Freedom Shields, and he's gonna refund my money. He's gonna send me a shipping label that'll save me some money. I mean, they'll deduct it off my refund, but I'll be able to send it back. They don't make a bigger screen than the 12 inches, and there's just no way it's going to work for me. So I went ahead and ordered a different manufacturer's product, got their 15-inch today, so this is going to have to go back. Let's talk windshields. So I've got the 2-inch standard wind deflector that comes on the Sport Glide standard. You've actually got about 1 inch that's above the fairing and another inch that's below the fairing inside of the housing. And of course, there's lots of aftermarket windshields that you can buy, and they all call for a little bit different measurement, but let's talk about that, because I've ordered and sent one back, and that's after doing a lot of research and watching on the internet. So, and here's what I don't see anybody talking about is, all right, look at your forks. Look at the angle that's on. That's called a rake. So that fork is running up at a 30-degree angle. Look at the angle of the wind deflector as it sits on the fairing in relationship to the forks. It's running parallel with the forks. Well, that means that is a 30-degree angle. So it's coming back towards the rider at a 30-degree angle. Yet everybody's calling for a measurement for you to sit on the bike, take a measurement from just below your nose, run it straight to the front of your fairing, measure up from the fairing, and that's how high you want your wind deflector or your windshield. Well, the problem is with that 30-degree angle, it's actually 33%. It's changing the measurement by 33%, right? So what's my logic here? Well, okay, if you look at, if that came straight back to the rider like this, between here, straight up and down, which is the way they're saying you should measure, back to the measurement coming straight off your nose, right? That's 90 degrees. Well, a 30-degree rake is a third of that, or 33%. It's a 33% longer measurement to get up to that same mark. So let me put a piece of cardboard on here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I just taped a piece of cardboard to my fairing, from the fairing up. Now that one I taped on is 14 inches because the one that I've ordered is a 15-inch windshield, and they have 1 inch that goes down below, just like the factory. So by coming up there, and that's the largest one that they make, okay? And I'll talk to you about the manufacturer here in a few minutes when I do the install. But I had purchased the Freedom Shield 12-inch. Now when I sit on there, measure from the way that everybody says to do it, go just below your nose or whatever, between your upper lip and the tip of your nose. So I measured kind of smack dab in the middle of there, and going straight forward, coming straight up at a 90-degree angle, I measured 12.5 inches. So I figured a 12-inch ought to do the trick. And by the way, 12-inch is as big or is as tall as the Freedom Shield makes it. And I talked to the owner of the company, and the reason they only go 12 inches is because if you go any higher than that, they start having wind issues with it, too much wind pushing it. Now the one that I've purchased actually has, right down here at the bottom, has 2 air slits so that the air can come through and release or remove the back pressure. Again, I'll show you that here in a few minutes on when I do the install. But so that's what you're dealing with. And when you're looking at the Sport Glide, you're going to have a heck of a time finding anything out there that's anything that you're going to buy that's going to give you any. You're not going to get higher than that. So when I do the math, if that windshield comes up at that 30-degree rake and comes back to me, and then I measure up and over, well, you'd expect to lose 33% or 33 1/3% of your height, because you're working with a 90-degree straight up and down. So by coming back 33%, it's shortening the height of the windshield. So that's something to keep in mind as you're trying to get a windscreen or a windshield to fit your bike. So again, I'll share with you the install and the purchase that I made. It's on its way. They shipped it. I got an email, and it should arrive on Thursday. Today is Monday, Labor Day. I want to address one other thing. A lot of people laugh at this mini bat wing fairing, and they say that a little 2-inch doesn't do anything. You're wrong. It does a lot, actually. With that little 2-inch with the flip, and it doesn't really have a flip, it's just the direction that it goes. That takes the wind off of my torso, takes the wind, and I start catching wind just about down at my chin, just a little below my chin. And it's not causing a wind buffet where it's directing all the wind right at my head. So it really does cut the wind tremendously. I've ridden the bike naked, and I've taken the fairing off, and I've ridden with this. Now when I had the Freedom Shield 12-inch on there, that actually caused wind buffeting because it's directing that wind. It's kind of like funneling it right at your head, and it was popping my head hard. Honestly, this is more comfortable than that 12-inch Freedom Shield was, because this is not deflecting or funneling the wind specifically right at my head. It's catching me across the top of my shoulders and my chin, and it's dispersing it evenly through there, so it's not just funneling it right at my head. So we'll see how this goes, but it's not an easy thing to get fit for a windscreen or a windshield. I've seen so many other videos, people buying them and sending them back, and if you're lucky enough to be able to send it back. So, you know, if you're going to buy a windshield, beware and take your time to get this thing right, because otherwise you're just going to end up with something that you throw in your garage and you go back to this original 2-inch. Okay. I'll be back when I get the other windscreen and windshield, and we'll do an install, unboxing and install. Today's a big day. Got my windshield from Gustafsson, and so I got the 15-inch touring windshield, and I got the lower wing deflectors. I'll go ahead and unbox this and show you what's in there. There it is. So here's the light smoke 15-inch windshield and lower wind deflectors. So let's go ahead and put it on. You've seen me do the other one, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Just a quick reminder, here's how, once you take that fairing apart, that's how the original goes in there. So I'll pop that off, then I'll pop the new one right on. And you can see that, bear with me a second, the new one's got exactly, you know, the same setup there. Okay, I have the windshield and the lower wind deflectors on. Here's how it turned out. I'd love to tell you that it was just a snap and it was easy peasy putting that stuff together. That's not the truth. Frankly, I think if I was just putting the windshield on, it would have been all right. But those lower wind deflectors, they come with a longer bolts that replace the factory ones. And getting that put back together with the windshield, the taller windshield, and then the deflectors, maybe you can see where those go in. You know, there's 2 bolts, one there and one down there, and you got that on it, both sides, plus the taller windshield. And the windshield is thick. I mean, you can see how thick that is. It was like wrestling an alligator. I'm telling you right now, it was a terrible experience. But like all things, you just push through it and get it done. So I did take this for a ride. Matter of fact, I took it for like a 49.5-mile ride. So it's not like I just took it for a spin around the block. And first impression, of course, it was a windy day. But my first impression is I'm right about at the edge for wind buffeting. So I think the windshield does a marvelous job. The 2 air slits there to help relieve back pressure, that doesn't let much wind through at all, so I was happy about that. But I have to tell you, these bottom wind deflectors here, I think my first impression is that they cause wind. The wind certainly gushes right past here. It comes right up the side of the tank and hits the rider right in the belly button. And I mean, it's gushing air from both sides, so you're taking a pretty hard hit from wind underneath that. I believe I was better off before with that mini bat wing fairing than putting those wind deflectors on. I'm gonna take it for another ride today before I pass judgment, but initial reaction is stay tuned. I think that the wind deflectors on the lower side there are going to come off. but I do think that the windshield for my height, now I have a 29-inch inseam. I'm 5'8", so I do, as I said before, have kind of a tall torso. So I'm right at the edge. I've considered putting that reach seat on the Sport Glide, which would move, the seat would move me 1.5 inches forward and a 1/2 inch down. Honestly, I think if I was putting that reach seat on, I'd probably be right in the catbird seat, but you're not gonna get a better windshield than that on today's market, not without swapping the whole fairing out. So that's at least the initial on it. I'll be back. I will be doing a couple of more before I publish this video, so I'll be back with you after I take another ride or two and play around with it a little bit more. I pulled the fairing and the windshield and all that off. I'm going to take it for a ride naked to get a general idea of how the wind is hitting me in the chest. And on my body, you can see here's how those lowers go on. And then there's your windshield. So, yeah, all right, we're going to try to get this dialed in and figure out what's going on. So, I'll be back. Going to ride the bike naked, like I said, taking all that off. I know exactly where that wind was coming around the tank and hit me in the stomach yesterday. I'm going to take this for about a 8-mile loop or something like that and come back, and that'll give me a good idea of how the bike ordinarily sheds wind, and I'll compare the two. Okay, I just got back from an 8.3-mile loop. Put the fairing on, and I still have the wind deflectors, the lower wind deflectors on there, and I will take it for a ride. What I can tell you is I was definitely getting less wind along the tank and on my stomach than when I rode with this wind deflectors last night. But let's give it another run this way. We'll take the same 8.3-mile loop and see how it's feeling. Just got back from my ride, second loop, same 8 point whatever miles, and did it with the windshield and the lower wind deflectors on, and definitely is pushing wind up right into my armpits and across my stomach. And it's coming up just about midway, you know, to the tank, and it's coming like straight up. So it's definitely looping around those wind deflectors on the bottom. So as much as a pain in the butt as they're going to be, I'm going to have to pull those wind deflectors off and try it with just the fairing and the windshield and see what we get. Same 8-mile loop. So I'll be back with you in a few. All right, here I am with the fairing and the windshield, and I'll go ahead and get that out of there and back out to the bike. So I've got an Allen wrench. That's what they send you for the new hardware that they send you, the new bolts. One of the long ones. Second. And just like that, it's off. Now I need to use a Torx to put the standard hardware back in. So these are the original bolts that went into the fairing. And I'm hoping these will go in a heck of a lot easier than those long ones lined up. Notice I haven't taken any of the other bolts out yet, so hopefully this thing's going to line up. top one lined up. So the bottom one, good deal, man. This won't be as bad as I thought. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, get the other side done, get this on the bike, and we'll go for a ride. Okay, so obviously this is how I'm sitting on the bike. I can clearly see over that, and you know, it's coming to about, you know, my chin or whatever. Walk around that way, Lauren. Get it from the front. So when you just look at it standing there in a picture, it looks super tall, but it really isn't. It's a perfect size. I will say that the light gray or the light smoke is what I would call more of a medium. Come on over here. And then kind of cut it from the side too. So, you know, that's to put some scale to how it sits, but yeah. All right, I'll take it for a spin and I'll let you know. Okay, after 3 distinctly separate rides, naked, with the windshield and the lower wind deflectors and just the windshield and the fairing, looks to me like the windshield and the fairing are the winner. So although I think the lower wind deflectors look kind of cool, and at first glance they make a lot of sense, trust me when I say they do absolutely nothing to add wind deflection. I actually have a more comfortable ride with less wind on my torso without them than I had with them. And that's at, I mean, I ran it up to 85 mile an hour too. So, I mean, it's not just putzing along. So do yourself a favor and just save your money. Frankly, I don't even think that they should have that product on the market. I just wonder if they've actually put it on a bike and tested it. I don't even know if those guys ride, to be honest with you. But I'm just telling you, the lower is a waste. So fortunately, I only spent $75 because I bought it with the windshield, so they discount them in half. But realistically, they should give me my $75 back and apologize to me for selling them to me. So, all right, I'll be back with a wrap up on this in a few. Okay, so wrapping this video up, that 15-inch, I think they call it Grand Touring windshield from Gustafsson is the ticket. It's a very good windshield. The quality of the windshield is there. The size, for me, it's just about right. I could use another 1 inch, to be honest with you, but it's good. It would be great if I had another inch of height. Again, I'm considering putting that reach seat on, which would move my seat 1.5 inches, or move me on the seat 1.5 inches forward and drop me 1/2 inch, and it would probably make that windshield just about right for me. No concerns about the vents. It really doesn't let enough wind through there to say so. It's very stable while you're riding, so even though it's kind of tall, it's sturdy. It's not, there's no vibration or anything. Be aware that it does make contact with the brake reservoir. They give you that piece right there to put in there, and then over here you've got the clutch cable that makes contact with the window too, and they give you a little bit of foam to wrap around that. Problem is that's already coming unwrapped, so I'll probably have to address that somehow, but it's it does a nice job. You know, we did the test, you saw all of that. Don't waste your money on those lower wind deflectors. They just do absolutely nothing, and it's a waste of money. So, and this came out to be, when I did a measurement, a vertical measurement coming straight up from here, straight up, I get 12 inches. So that's their 15-inch windshield. Of course, an inch of it's down below the fairing. You got 14 inches up, but again, with the rake, it's leaned back toward you. So from a vertical measurement, it's coming up 12 inches. So figure out what you need vertically and go from there. Again, I measured like 12 and a half-ish when I was doing it with a vertical measurement to be ideal. So I'm a ½ inch lower than that. And, so there's that. So yeah, I hope that hope this helps you out. I know it would have helped me out if I had something like this to look at before I wasted my $75 and before I went through. It cost me over $50 to send that Freedom Shield back. So I look at the money that I got wasted, and not to mention the time and aggravation. So I hope this is helping you. As always, if you like the videos, I appreciate it if you hit me with hit the like button and subscribe. I'll have more videos coming. So appreciate you tagging along, and love to hear your comments. If you've got a windshield, what you're sporting, what size, how did it work out for you? Again, love to hear the comments. So hope to hear from you. Talk to you later.